Good evening, dear viewers, and welcome to All 24 Nightly News, broadcasting live from Algiers. I'm your host, Karim Fazakri, and up next are the latest top stories. Sahrawi presidency mourns fallen military leader and comrades and urges Mid-North empowerment for mission success. Also ahead in our news, Niger's public prosecutor orders immediate deportation of French ambassador amid rising calls for French forces withdrawal. In our news as well, Gabon coup leaders unveil border reopening and reject election acceleration, as well as accuse the West of backing entrenched presidents with alleged false results. And Kiev steps up attacks inside Russia, while Moscow announces destruction of Ukrainian boats and drowned drones. Hello again, and thank you for joining us. First off in our news, the Sahrawi presidency has announced 3 days of mourning starting today in honor of the martyrdom of Abba Ali Hamoudi, the field commander of the 6th Military District and a member of the Polisario Front's National Secretariat. Hamoudi, who had been a member of the National Secretariat since the Front's 16th conference, was a dedicated leader in the Sahrawi People's Liberation Army from 1975 until his heroic sacrifice. The presidency extends its heartfelt condolences to the Sahrawi people and the family, relatives, and comrades of the deceased. Still with the same file, Sahrawi President Ibrahim Ghali emphasized that the success of UN envoy Staffan de Mistura in Western Sahara depends on Security Council support. He discussed this during a meeting with Joshua Harris, Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for North Africa. Ghali stressed the need for practical support to enable UN mission MINURSO to fulfill its mandate under the 1991 African Settlement Plan. He cautioned against vague terms like realism that deepen deadlock and increase regional tension. Mr. Ghali reiterated the Sahrawi people's commitment to their rights and independence, defending through legitimate means per UN and African Union principles. Still with Western Sahara, the U.S. State Department reaffirmed its unwavering support for UN envoy Staffan de Mistura's efforts to resolve the Sahrawi issue during a meeting with Sahrawi representatives led by Joshua Harris, Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for North Africa. This support is part of the ongoing efforts to refresh the UN-backed peace process in Western Sahara. Here's Salman Seb.
American envoy Joshua Harris held a crucial meeting with the Sahrawi President Ibrahim Ghali and other high-ranking leaders of the Polisario Front around the consultation table, symbolizing the commitment to finding a solution to the Western Sahara issue through dialogue and international cooperation. This move underscores the United Nations' determination to support a peaceful and just resolution to the Western Sahara issue, emphasizing the need for all parties involved to adhere to international standards and work within the framework of the United Nations.
In support to the UN political process on Western Sahara, Deputy Assistant Secretary of State Joshua Harris visited refugee camps to consult with a range of stakeholders, including Secretary General Ibrahim Ghali and senior representatives of the Polisario Front, as well as representatives of UN agencies, NGOs, and humanitarian assistance partners.
During the meeting, Washington made its stance clear, reaffirming its support for the UN's roadmap to resolve the Western Sahara conflict. This roadmap is crucial for ensuring the Sahrawi people's right to freedom and dignity, a fundamental principle that the United States stands firmly behind. The American administration once again criticized the Moroccan regime actions. Washington emphasizes its backing to the UN solution, which unequivocally recognizes Western Sahara as a region under Moroccan occupation.
U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary Joshua Harris stressed the importance of fully supporting and engaging with the personal envoy of the UN Secretary General, Staffan de Mistura, in an aim to realize and compromise a lasting and dignified political solution for the Sahrawi people.
The statement also alluded to previous attempts by former President Donald Trump to influence the situation with a tweet which had sought to expedite normalization between two occupying entities in exchange for the recognition of alleged sovereignty. However, Washington's renewed commitment to the UN plan emphasizes that such issues cannot be resolved outside the bounds of international legitimacy.
On other topical African news, on Saturday, Niger's judiciary accused the French ambassador of diplomatic norms violation for refusing a foreign ministry summons. The public prosecution urged authorities to deport the ambassador and his family, citing his lack of diplomatic status and residence permit. And in related news, thousands gathered near a French military base in Niger on Saturday demanding the departure of French troops. Civil society organizations opposed to the French military presence organized a sit-in, with demonstrators calling for an end to the military presence in the country. Osama Ayadi brings us more updates.
Thousands of protesters took to the streets on Saturday in Niger's capital city, Niamey, demanding former colonial power France to withdraw its troops as sought by the ruling military council in the country, which seized power in the month of June.
We're here and will be here forever, until the day France backs up. France has to move out because it's not its country. It's our country. It's our territory. And well, France has to move out.
Demonstrators gathered near a base that was housing French soldiers after a call by several civic organizations to the French military presence in the West African country. They held banners rejecting the French army's presence and called on it to leave the country.
Our only request, our ultimate request, is the departure of the French who are on Niger territory. We don't need these people here. We don't need them, and we repeat, we are ready to die to defend our homeland. We are ready to die to get them out. They must leave. We don't need them here.
Earlier on Friday, Niger's military command had shot a new articulated denunciation at France, condemning Paris' blatant interference by supporting the country's ousted president, as demonstrators staged a similar protest near the French base outside Niamey.
The
government of the Republic of Niger followed with dismay the statements made by the President of the French Republic on Monday on the occasion of his speech before the French ambassadors. These statements represent an additional blatant interference in the internal affairs of Niger.
Defying orders of the Niger Military Council, French President Emmanuel Macron had already announced that the country's ambassador would continue to stay in the crisis-hit capital Niamey, dismissing concerns that not adhering to the Military Council's orders could be dangerous. Macron affirmed that the authorities of his country are able to withstand the pressure.
In the same context, the U.S. Department of Defense emphasized the need for a diplomatic resolution in Niger and urged ongoing dialogue with Nigerian stakeholders to address the country's crisis. Pentagon spokesman Patrick Ryder disclosed discussions between U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and French Defense Minister Sébastien Lecornu, focusing on the security situation in Niger and recent West African developments.
Secretary of Defense Lloyd J. Austin spoke by phone with France's Minister of the Armed Forces, Sébastien Lecornu, today to discuss the security environment in Niger in light of the recent developments in West Africa. The Secretary and Minister shared their desire for a diplomatic resolution to the situation in Niger and emphasized the need for continued engagement with the Nigerians and regional African partners.
Gabon's coup leaders have reopened borders while maintaining a curfew from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. According to a military leader, the Transitional Council aims to avoid rushed elections and seeks to reorganize institutions for greater democracy, as he puts it. Islam said with more.
A spokesman for Gabon's military rulers said on a state TV they decided with immediate effect to reopen the land, sea and air borders as of this Saturday, following the overthrow of President Ali Bongo. However, a curfew from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. remains in place.
The Committee for the Transition and Restoration of Institutions decides with immediate effect to reopen land, sea and air borders as of this Saturday, September 2nd, 2023, in the view of the curfew in force in the country from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Travelers arriving in the Gabonese Republic or wishing to leave will be authorized to travel on presentation of their travel documents.
As pressure mounted over handing back power to a civilian government, the military coup leader said the coup d'etat aimed at avoiding the repetition of past election mistakes by keeping the same people in power.
Our aim is to move as quickly as possible, quickly but surely. Moving as quickly as possible doesn't mean organizing elections in a rush, where we'll all end up in the same mistakes, where the same people will continue in power, and it all comes back to the same thing.
Meanwhile, the Gabonese coup leader reiterated his country's commitments to all its national and international partners, stressing the country's state institutions would be made more democratic and their suspension was only temporary.
Gabon will respect all its commitments with the national and international partners, as well as all bilateral and multilateral agreements that promote the development of the Gabonese people. The dissolution of the institutions of the Republic is temporary. The aim is to reorganize them, to make them more democratic tools, more in line with the international standards in terms of respect for human rights, fundamental freedoms, democracy and the rule of law.
The coup in Gabon drew some mixed reactions, with many celebrating it, as they have grown resentful toward this family's regime, who did little to share Gabon's oil and mining wealth. The takeover in Gabon is the 8th in West and Central Africa since 2020, following Niger, Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso and Chad, warring international powers with strategic interests at stake.
To other African news, Senegalese opposition figure Ousmane Sonko, imprisoned since late June, has ended his hunger strike, which lasted for over a month. Bamba Sisi, one of Sonko's defense attorneys, made the announcement, attributing the decision to recent appeals by religious leaders to halt the hunger strike. It's worth noting that Sonko was sentenced in absentia to a 2-year prison term on June 1st in a sexual assault case. A terrorist attack in northwestern Nigeria's Kaduna city resulted in the tragic death of 7 individuals. Armed bandits targeted worshippers at a mosque in Saya village in Kaduna State, with 5 victims killed within the mosque and 2 others in separate locations within the area, according to local media reports. Sudan's Sovereignty Council leader Abdel Fattah al-Burhan reiterated his refusal to accept external interference in managing the country's affairs during his visit to Kassala State on Saturday. He also expressed his openness to any support for the nation's reconstruction.
All the army and the people agreed to defeat the rebellion. We reject being ordered around what we do not accept anyone to direct us.
Tunisian President Kais Saied has removed Monsef Matoussi from his position as CEO of the Tunisian Trans-Country Gas Pipeline Company. The decision was announced in a brief statement on the official Facebook page of the Tunisian presidency. Additionally, Matoussi's roles as chairman and general director of the Tunisia Trans-Tunisian Gas Pipeline Services Company have also been terminated. The statement did not provide specific details regarding the reason for this decision. These 2 Tunisian companies oversee the management of the section of the Trans-Mediterranean Transmed pipeline that crosses Tunisia, transporting Algerian gas to Italy and Central Europe. The Tunisian government anticipates a substantial increase of approximately 150% in the country's revenues from royalties generated by the Algerian gas pipeline crossing its territory to Europe by the end of the current year. This increase is expected to result from a higher contribution of Algerian gas exports, which will cover around 66% of Tunisia's domestic consumption. Libyan House of Representatives Speaker Aguilar Saleh emphasized the need for a unified government focused on conducting elections during his meeting with UN envoy Abdullah Batili. They discussed Libya's political situation, particularly preparations for presidential and parliamentary elections, including the Joint Committee's findings on electoral laws. Batili underscored the importance of increased efforts and consultations to meet the Libyan people's desire for the electoral process. In occupied Palestine, Zionist forces arrested 3 Palestinians, including a girl, inside Al-Aqsa Mosque on Saturday, as reported by the Prisoners' Affairs Authority in Al-Quds. The occupied West Bank and Al-Quds are currently experiencing sieges, heavy military actions, and widespread arrests of Palestinian youth by Zionist forces, along with attacks by settlers on Palestinians and their property. On the first day of the new school year in Jabal Mukber, occupied Al-Quds schools went on strike to protest arbitrary measures against students by the occupation. The Palestinian news agency reported the strike at the Sawahira secondary schools and Ibn al-Haytham preparatory schools for boys, with a protest at the new Salaha school. The Central Parents Committee of Jabal Mukber schools affirmed the strike will persist until the occupation addresses their legitimate demands, including a plan to build new educational facilities. On Saturday, still violent clashes occurred between Zionist police and Eritrean asylum seekers, resulting in at least 100 injuries, with 12 being serious. Zionist media reported that the occupation forces used crowd dispersal methods against the demonstrators and detained 23 Eritrean individuals. Among the injured, 4 Eritreans sustained severe injuries, and medical sources indicated that 11 people were wounded by gunfire from Zionist police officers. To other news now, Russia confirmed the destruction of 3 Ukrainian boats on Saturday, which it claimed were attempting to attack the Crimean bridge. The Russian Ministry of Defense stated that an unmanned Ukrainian boat was used in this attempted attack on the bridge connecting the Crimean Peninsula to the Russian mainland. Ukrainian officials, who view the destruction of Russian infrastructure as crucial to their war effort, have not provided an immediate comment. The Russian Ministry of Defense confirmed the downing of 3 Ukrainian drones over the Belgorod region. Additionally, the governor of the region reported a fatality caused by a Ukrainian missile strike on a village near the border. In a separate incident, the governors of neighboring Bryansk and Kursk regions stated that a group of border villages came under a Ukrainian attack, resulting in an injury to a woman in the Kursk region. Chinese President Xi Jinping stated that China will participate in the modernization achievements and work collaboratively with the world to ensure a sustainable global economic recovery. In a video speech at the 2023 World Trade Summit, he emphasized China's commitment to injecting new vitality into global development through its vast market opportunities. Additionally, Xi Jinping pledged to enhance global access to high-quality Chinese services to benefit people worldwide.
推动包业和服务贸易的发展，我谨代表中国政府和中国人民。
As this year marks the 45th anniversary of China's reform and opening up, China will continue to promote high-standard opening up and advance Chinese modernization of all fronts through high-quality development, so as to provide all countries with new opportunities for openness and cooperation. China will work with all countries and parties to advance inclusive development through openness in the service sector, promote connectivity and integration through cooperation in services, foster drivers for development through innovation in services, and create a better future through shared services, in a bid to jointly get the world economy onto the track of sustained recovery.
Well, it's time for more news making headlines around the globe in the News in Brief.
According to a statement by South Korean military, North Korea fired several cruise missiles towards the Yellow Sea in the early hours of Saturday. The South Korean General Staff said that details of the launch were being analyzed by South Korean and US intelligence authorities. The European Union announced on Saturday the recruitment of 12 aircraft and 400 firefighters to confront the raging fires in Greece for the second week in a row. European Commission spokesman Balázs Ujvári described Greece's fires as the largest since the European Union began keeping fires records more than 2 decades ago. 2 soldiers and militants were killed in a shootout during an overnight military operation against militant activity in the northwest alongside the border with Afghanistan. According to a military statement, security forces initiated an operation in Miran Shah to eliminate remaining terrorists, resulting in the death of the army major leading the operation and another soldier. Algerian national team manager Jamal Belmadi announced the list of players to face Tanzania at the end of the African Cup of Nations in Côte d'Ivoire qualifying rounds and the friendly game with Senegal. A list marked by the return of the midfielder Soufiane Fogholi, who is remarkably brilliant in the Turkish league.
With this, our news program comes to an end. For the latest updates, you can always check our social media channels. Thank you for tuning in, and remember to join us tomorrow for more news. Goodbye.